Like, I used to score at the basketball, like, my whole life.
You know, on record, everyone knows that you and LeBron are pretty close friends. Wanted to know the possibility ever of you guys teaming up. Welcome to Point Game with John Wall and C.J. Toledano, presented by DraftKings. Don't forget, DraftKings is your home for all the action across the NBA and gets you close to the game we all love. The crown is yours. On today's episode, we are joined by the 4-time NBA champ, 8-time all-defensive team, 2-time gold medalist, one of the best podcasters in the game. Draymond Green is joining us on Point Game. But first, John, man, how you feeling?
I'm great, bro. Great. Great to have a guy like Draymond on. I mean, a lot of people don't respect him and understand what he brings to the game, what he does for his team, but it goes a long way. So it's great to have a person like that want to join our podcast and also has his own podcast. So it means a lot to us.
Yeah, he drops some incredible stories and insights, including a little bit of preview about what we're seeing here in the playoffs. But I wanted to talk about this past weekend because yesterday, Sunday, we had 2 Game 7s. And I'm dying to hear what you thought, your reaction. So let's start with the big one. Nuggets Timberwolves Game 7, the reigning champs. You know, everyone I feel like thought we're gonna see the Nuggets. They just won 3 in a row. It's gonna be them again. So give me your reaction to watching that Game 7 yesterday.
Well, for me, that's why I always say like a 20-point lead in NBA don't mean shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they was up 38-58 with like 10 minutes and 40 seconds or 50 seconds to go in the third quarter. You know what I mean? But Minnesota, like a young team, and a lot of people say early on throughout the playoffs or throughout just the season, they get rattled. I mean, they don't have nobody to calm them down. And I think just their composure with like Mike Conley being their leader, Antman being who he was, not having a great game.
Yeah.
Wasn't having a great game. You know what I mean? But stuck with it, kept fighting. And I told people before, like, if you picking up somebody full court throughout a whole 7-game series, and that later on your legs get tired. Like, you start having mistakes. And I think if I was Denver, I would have let Aaron Gordon bring the ball up a little bit more. You know what I mean? So Jamal Murray don't get so fatigued and tired because Antman picking him up full court. Then you got Jaden McDaniels picking him up full court. Then Alexander Walker picking him up full court. You know what I mean? So he had it going in the first half. And I think he got a little bit of tired. And the same with Jokic. Like, he damn near played the whole second half. But Minnesota kept chipping away. And they closed it out.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, you said Ant didn't have a great game. And so I still feel like he added to this game, was a big part of it. Like, he wasn't hitting his shots. He couldn't get it going offensively. But let's talk about what he did right, you know, and what his teammates did right to bring him back into this game and win it.
Well, what I always tell people before is, like, being a point guard that can score or just being a 2 guard that's a scorer, how can you impact the game in other ways when your shot's not falling defensively? Still being aggressive, making the right reads, getting a lot of assists, rebounding the ball. Antman did that. He was 6 for 24, like, but he hit big timely shots. You feel me? Like, to end the third quarter, he hit a step back 3. Now he cut the lead from 4 to 1. Then he get a steal on Jamal Murray in the 4th. Right after he was on the bench and said, coach was tapping him on the chase, I'm gonna get in my bag. You know what I mean? So he still had that mindset, like, I don't care if I'm missing shots, I can still impact the game in so many ways. So his defensively, his energy, all that kept it going. And then they bench was going. Like, when they was getting stopped, they bench was jumping up and down. And you need that because when you're on the road, there's nobody else with you. So it's 15 guys in the coaching staff. And then shots start falling. And then I knew it was over when Rudy Gobert hit that turnaround fadeaway. I said, oh, yeah, they not winning. When those type of shots start going, I'm like, yeah, you're not winning. But just to have that momentum, bro, like, just to know you still got heart, not to give up. Like, most teams in that position would have gave up down 20 in the middle of the third. So it was a big-time win for them. So I'm definitely excited to see them versus the Mavericks.
Well, let's talk about the Nuggets, too. I can't help but wonder if you have a Bruce Brown or a Jeff Green out there. I feel like people were like, they'll make it up. They're going to have their young guys develop them over this year. Do you think having those or missing those guys kind of affect them in the long run in this series?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said before, I think even though the Timberwolves bench didn't score a lot of points, they got like 20 to 24 minutes from Alexander Walker, and from Nas Reed. Those are big fucking minutes. You know what I mean? When your guys need a break, those are big minutes. And you don't got to score. How can you impact the game? I mean, just making stops, doing extra stuff. Like, I think the most minutes I think somebody from the Nuggets bench probably got was like 10 or 11. You know what I mean? That's a big difference. Yeah. And then Jamal Murray, I think Reggie Jackson only played like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So he really didn't get a break. So you go back to what I'm saying. If I'm picking him up full court the whole game, and he had it going in the first half. Then later on in the second half, like you tell, those shots that was easy became tougher because he got a little bit more tired. And that was the pressure that Timberwolves kept on him throughout the whole game. And same with Jokic. Like, Jokic is a hell of a fucking player. We know who Jokic is. But you can tell, like, he played Denver the whole second half. And the shots that he was making early started to come a little bit short because he had to play so much on both ends of the floor.
Can we show some love to Cat too? Like, I know we were talking about Cat was going to be a major factor. There were some, not I don't want to say not smart, but like he wasn't doing that thing where he was driving sort of out of control. Like, I felt like he was composed. He hit some big shots, came up defensively. Like, what was Cat doing that helped him?
Well, not even just Cat. I give shout out to Cat for sure, but Jaden McDaniels too.
Right.
Like, he made big shots. Like, on that run, he was getting defensive stops. He was making corner threes. You know what I mean? Then he was getting like offensive rebounds. Like Kim and Cat had big moments, and you got to enjoy that. But like I always say, is role players have to play well on the road in big games for you to win. Mm-hmm. They do it at home, and you go to Indiana series. What did they role players do yesterday? Made big shots and played well. They win the game. The same thing with the T-Wolves. Early on, their role players were just okay. But they kept them close and didn't get it going, really. He made some shots, but he didn't get it going for real. Like, we used to Antman having damn near 30, 35 every game, 40. He didn't have that. But his guys stepped up when he needed them. And then when it came to be that guy and to make the big shots or make the right plays, Antman was there for that. So you got to give a shout out, just not to Cat and Jaden McDaniels, but to their whole team.
Yeah. So
to their whole team.
We'll talk a little bit about it later, about this Mavs and Timberwolves matchup. Like, I don't want to say youngish teams, but two teams we didn't think were going to be there. And, that Kyrie and Luka backcourt versus, an older Conley and a newer guy. What do you think is going to happen there? I know you've been saying the Mavs are a favorite of yours in these playoffs, and if they got far. So what do you think now after watching that Game 7, how the Timberwolves stepped up? How do you think they match up against the Mavs?
They match up well. I mean, it's a great matchup, but, like, Conley's, like I always say, he's one of the most underrated point guards of all time to me because he just does his job, run his team, make big shots, doesn't turn the ball over. I loved him when he was with Memphis, with Marc Gasol and Tony Allen and Zach Randolph and all those guys. But now it's Jaden McDaniels and Antman versus Kyrie and Luka. You know what I mean? Because those two are two dogs on Timberwolves, and you got to lock up those two guys. And I know the T-Wolves won the series 3-1 in the regular season, but they didn't have P.J. Washington. They didn't have Daniel Gafford in. Those guys are playing at a high level. So it's going to be exciting to see for me. Like, I'm definitely trying to go to a game, got to see what's going on. I don't know. It's like this. Because I love the way Antman is right now, bro. Like, Antman is a dog. He's on this level. He feel like it's his time. You know what I mean? Like, he's not waiting. He feel like it's his time, but it's amazing to see Luka and Kyrie from last year when they did their trade, didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
To now, they're in the Western Conference Finals. And then you got to give a shout out to Derrick Jones.
Yep.
I mean, like, he's locking up. He's taking all the tough coverages.
Yeah.
And he's making big shots and scoring the ball on the other end like nobody expected. So, shout out to Derrick Jones, man. Like, I feel like it's going to be an exciting series because he's going to challenge Antman. You know what I mean? Antman going to challenge him.
Yeah.
So, I'm ready to see that series.
How much I've seen writers talking about the naivete or like almost the delusion, he's 22. He's about to play some guys, Kyrie, who he probably watched as a kid and idolized. But he's just like, I don't care almost. How much do you think that helps him? Is that like a superpower of his that he doesn't care who he's about to play?
Bro, yes. Look at it. Who is his favorite player? Kevin Durant. Yeah. How did he go with Kevin Durant in the first round?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he said, it's cool, bro. Like, you can idolize whoever. You can model your game after somebody and think a certain person a GOAT, but when it's my time, it's my time.
Right.
And that's how Antman feel. Like, I love Kevin Durant, got all the respect for Kevin Durant. That's who I looked up to. But it's my time.
Yeah.
And he's not backing down. Some people get in that moment where they idolize somebody and see that person, they don't go at him the same way they go at somebody else. He's going to KD like, shit, you got what I want.
Yeah.
And you got to respect that.
That's dope. Okay, I wanted to talk about Game 7, Knicks-Pacers, which I think was a shock to a lot of people. Everyone was high on the Knicks. No shock for you?
No shock at all.
Tell us what you thought about that.
Reason why no shock, because I knew Josh Hart was hurt with a abdominal strain. I give him all the respect, utmost respect, because I know how I feel to play through that. You know what I mean? Like, I had that injury when I played against the Nuggets. After I dunked the ball, I had it the rest of the game. And I couldn't move the way I wanted to, you know what I mean? But for him to get there 4 hours before the game, before the lights is on, to get up shot just to see if he can play. Then you got to give a shout out to OG Anunoby just to try to attempt to get out there.
He looked good in the beginning there.
He made 2 shots, but you could just tell he couldn't even run. Like, he couldn't even lift his leg to move. Yeah. So I just think the injuries wore them down where they didn't get the same impact from the players they wanted. And the Pacers came out being aggressive, but the main thing was Halliburton, bro.
Yeah.
When he come out aggressive, they're a different team. When he come out passive and not looking to score, they'd be a different team. But Siakam set the tone, though. You know what I mean? Being there before, been in a Game 7 on the road or at home, he came out letting him know, like, we can win here. We've been close before. We can win here. So that wasn't a shock to me because of the injuries that the Knicks had.
Yeah. Well,
Was it a shock to you?
You know what? Here's my thought. You know, I feel like people are. I don't want to add on to the pile-on of the Knicks fans, and I know I have a lot of Knicks fan friends, and everyone's excited, but the window isn't as big as I think everyone is describing. You know, we had the Sixers team that came in not healthy; they didn't win. You know, the Pacers knocked down the Bucks, and the Pacers are a newer team to the playoffs again, and they beat them. I think the Knicks. There is an issue here about Tibbs playing 7 guys, overplaying some of these guys. Josh Hart, you said, was hurt. OG Anunoby was hurt. I do think that there wasn't this, like, almost like being able to conserve his roster a little bit better for these longer series. So, and we've talked about it on past episodes. Tyrese Halliburton hasn't gotten it going the way he was in the first half of the season, and he got it going 14 that first quarter, and I was like, man, this is going to be tough for the Knicks. And I loved, if you watched that whole game, which I know you did, the Knicks were they were having these little runs, 8-0 runs. Mm-hmm. And the Pacers came back because they had, I think their defense was being criticized this whole year. I thought they played incredible defense, and they were hitting big shots from their role players. Nembhard, Nesmith, like, getting rebounds. So I wasn't shocked. I was like, man, this is exciting because I do think that they do have a chance against the Celtics, especially with Porzingis hurt. But yeah, man, I think people were hyping up the Knicks a little bit too much, and I think the Pacers came and did what they've been doing that, you know, sort of made them a playoffs team. So yeah, it'll be more interesting. I'm rocking the Pacers hat because I do think it might be an interesting Eastern Conference Finals more than people are hyping it up to be. Not hyping it up to be. So
I think it'd be interesting, but I think
I know the Celtics were your pick from the middle of this season.
No, for sure. No, I'm just saying because they've been there before. I watched him play in the finals against the Warriors 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. So I know they got the pieces to do it, and I know they made the trade to get Drew Holiday, somebody that's been there before that can keep them settled. I just think it's like without Porzingis being there, now Al Horford has to be great for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because before he was the backup role where he didn't have to be special, just come in and spot minutes and do his job. And I think he has to be special for them. But at the same time, if Jalen Brunson gave you fits for 7 games,
right?
You have Tatum and Brown is going to give you fits now. It's not just one player.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's multiple guys that can go get 40 or 50 any moment. So I think it'll be exciting. I think it's going to be fun. But I feel like for them holding Porzingis back the first 2 games, I think the Celtics feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because if not, you would have brought Porzingis back. I mean, he had a lot of time off. He's been resting. And I think if you can hold him out a little bit longer and wait to the finals to have him, if you get there, then that's better for them. That's how I look at it for them. They're looking at the bigger picture. Because if not, if they lose game 1, you know how it go. When Dallas played Utah a couple years ago, they set Luka out the first couple games. Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie was going crazy.
Right.
And all right, we won the first game. All right, we're going to hold Luka back another game. Just save you. You can be conservative. Now, if the Celtics lose game one, you don't know. Porzingis might pop out their game two. Like, hold on now. So we'll see, though.
Okay.
But I'm really excited for the Mavs and T-Wolves series. Though.
Yeah. Well, conference finals are here. It's going to be dope. One last question before we go to break. Some video came out. You were up at EYBL and your AAU team was playing up in Indianapolis, and you met the new Kentucky coach, Mark Pope. Just wanted to get, a little bit. What was the exchange you guys had, and how was that meeting?
It shocked me because I just went, like I said, I was going to watch games. And he was right there. So I dapped somebody up and he stood up like, what's up? I'm like, what's up? I said, all respect to you. Wish you the best of luck there. And I'm always going to support the school. No matter what. Like, I love Coach Cal. I seen Cal when I was down there also. Talked to him. Talked to all the guys that's there that's went with him. And there's still love for the school I play for. Like, they got love for me. I'm in the Hall of Fame there, so there's no love lost. Like, I still respect Coach Cal. I'm still going to show love to Coach Cal. I'm still going to go to games, but I also wanted to build a relationship with the new coach, because that's a school that I went to when I played for. And I met Coach Jason Hart that was right there. And he was like, don't worry about it, bro. We're going to make sure you get all the gear. I'm going to give you all the gear that's coming through. And I was like, that's cool. I respect it. But just to see him, build a relationship with him, get to know him a little bit and try to figure out how he got things going and what path he's going with. So it was all love and respect. We dapped each other up. Then I went to another game later on. After I got some food, he was like, are you following me everywhere? I'm like, no. You're probably looking at a star player the same way I want to see the star player play. So it was exciting just to get a little chemistry and build a relationship with him.
That's dope. I saw people yelling Big Blue, and it's just cool to see all the
love. Oh, my God. It was there. Because you got to think, Kentucky's right there. Indiana's not too far from Kentucky. So, like I said, walking through and meeting people and seeing people, it was so many Kentucky fans there.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to hit break here. We're going to have Draymond Green joining us next on Point Game, presented by DraftKings. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Point Game with John Wall and C.J. Toledano, presented by DraftKings. We are so excited right now to welcome four-time NBA All-Star, four-time NBA champion, forward for the Golden State Warriors, ladies and gentlemen, Draymond Green on Point Game. What up, Draymond?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing, man? I appreciate y'all having me.
Appreciate you coming on.
Good. Hey, you forgot, man. He a two-time gold medal Olympics and one defensive player of the year. So
I only got so much space on the page.
Got to get that man his resume, man. You got to do that.
and broadcaster.
I definitely appreciate it, Jay Wall.
You got to give him that.
That's my most important job these days, the broadcast.
Well, I was going to actually start off the interview by saying, we just saw you on TV a few hours ago doing Inside, and you got the podcast that's killing. You're killing it off the court right now, and it's one of the first years of you not in the postseason. So I just wanted to see how you're feeling about that. Like, you've been able to just sit back and kind of like analyze these whole playoffs, and I want to know how that feels to do for the first time.
You know what? It's been a different experience watching the playoffs from the beginning, essentially without a dog in the fight. You're not watching it for, what could be a matchup later in the series or, scouting teams. Kind of just watching it as a fan, and breaking down the game, obviously, on the podcast and doing Inside last night. But it's been a totally different experience for me. It's one that, if I'm honest, I've tried to enjoy every bit of it, from the extra time off that I haven't had and spending time with my family, going to some events like F1, Miami, with my friends that I have never been to. And so trying to enjoy it, but at the same time, and sitting and understanding like, next year, like, we need to be back in the fight, man. It's no fun sitting over here on the sideline watching.
Yeah, for sure. Like, basically speaking on that, like, what do you think you and your Warriors got to do to get back to that deep playoff run? You know what I mean? Because we're so used to seeing y'all in the playoffs and you see y'all out early, it's like we don't expect that at all. You know what I mean? Because I know that's what you're used to. And like you said, you're definitely embracing the time to be around your family and go to certain events you miss. But I know you, the dog you are, you want to be in the playoffs. You want to be competing for a championship.
100%, Jay Wall. And honestly, I think it's just my way in my mind of trying to tell myself I'm okay. Trying to fool myself into believing like, I'm good, like it's cool. But the reality is, I think, like when I really take a step back and look at it, like from an honest vantage point, like I got to play. Like I got to be out there. I played 55 games this year. which is not nearly enough to help this team be successful. I played 55 games. We won 46 games this year? Yeah, we're 46 and 36. So if I don't miss 27 games, I think that's the math. If I don't miss 27 games, say we win half of those games, half of the 27 I miss, all of a sudden we're a 50-plus win team, and it's a totally different ball game. And so I think for me, it's just understanding the stakes, understanding, where my growth need to be and being available for my team so that I know we're not dropping games that we're supposed to win. When I look at this season, we probably lost 10 games literally that we easily should have won, and that is a direct impact, a direct inflection of me missing games, us not building the continuity that we need to build in order to win at the highest level. And I got to take that on the chin. When everybody want to celebrate when the glory is there, everybody want to, it's me. But when it don't go so well, we all want to point the finger the other way. And for me, I take that on the chin. I fucked this season off, and I have to be better. And I think, with me being better, I think, we're capable of still winning. Do we need to shore some things up? Of course. Every team in the NBA, I don't care who the team is, if a team win a championship this year, you have to get better. Can't fool ourselves. We didn't make the playoffs, so we got a lot of growing to do. And I think, with a few tweaks here and there, I think this team can make another run at it. Because when I look at these teams that's in the playoffs now, I don't see any of them that can't be beat. And so, if we could put it back together, which I have no doubt that we will, I think we could be right back there.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nose just because you said, you're the leader. You're the voice of that team, the dog you bring to that team. You just get them a lot of players that don't have that other if that they wish they had. And you can tell when you're not there, it's a big difference. And, you probably heard your whole career people say, well, Draymond's not this good, he's not that good. It doesn't matter. I impact the game in so many ways. I don't have to score. I don't have to get 30 for my team. And when I do the little things, and you can tell, you can feel the impact when you wasn't there a lot of games.
Absolutely. And honestly, when I'm sitting at home watching, I could feel it. I'm not an idiot. I'm not crazy. And so, to sit there and watch it, that shit burned me up, man. Because I know, I see certain things and I'm like, man, I should have been right there. And I know I would have been there to cut that off. Oh man, this guy just went for 40. Although that's not my matchup per se, that wouldn't have been my matchup. I could have affected our defense in a way to where that guy didn't get 40, to where he didn't feel as comfortable because I could have came and helped. I could have done this to kind of throw off their momentum. And so, man, when I'm sitting at home watching it, I know it's not the same team. And by the way, it shouldn't be. If we miss, I think, especially for what I do on both ends of the floor, obviously for what I do on the defensive end of the floor, but also being a playmaker on the floor for our offense, I can sit there and watch it, and I know, if Steph's not out there, if Klay's not out there, it's a different team, and it changes the dynamic of the team completely. And so, man, it's just really having that sense of accountability, knowing, accepting where I fell short of the glory and making sure I do the things I have to do to correct it.
Draymond, it is a big what if, and I love what you said about if you had played in the games that you missed, you would have won at least half of those, right? And so just getting you guys in the postseason, I feel like it resets. Your record doesn't matter. You guys are the dynastic warriors. So, how and we're seeing these young teams in the playoffs. You guys have a different mentality in the playoffs. There's a playoff LeBron. I think there's a playoff Warriors. So, how far do you think you guys could have gone if you just made that playoffs? Because really all it was is you had one bad game in the play-in.
For sure. You know what? When I sit back, and number one, that's one of the reasons you want to try to avoid the play-in. We've been in the play-in now a couple times, and we fell miserably each time. And, and just understanding, that college-type vibe where, listen, you got one game, and you need everything to go right in that game because the best team isn't always going to win that one game, which is what makes the NBA playoffs so special. It's usually over the course of a 7-game series, more often than not, the better team is going to win the series over the course of a 7-game series. And when you get into the play-in situation, if you're 9 or 10, you got one game and need to win to get a second one. If you're the 7-8, you got 2 games. But it's no guarantee you're going to shoot well. It's too many variables going into it that at this level, we're no longer accustomed to. You're not accustomed to the one and done mentality anymore. And so I think for us, number one is trying to avoid that play-in. Like, it's too dangerous. We haven't been successful in it. But then also understanding for us that if we get in the playoffs, there isn't anyone that wants to face us. Like, if you are a 1 seed or 2 seed, you do all of this work all year, and then you got to face us in the first round. Nobody want to fucking do that. It was like Miami this year. Like, Boston does all this work all year, and then you face Miami Heat in the first round. Now, granted, Jimmy Butler was hurt, kind of changes the series a ton, but psychologically what that can do to you. And so I know that for us to get in, just get in, give ourselves a chance. Like, when we won the championship in 2022, I remember telling my boys right before the playoffs started, like, yo, I'll see y'all at F1. That was the first year of F1 Miami. And I'm like, yo, I'll see y'all at F1 because we not winning. Like, I can't see us making it past the first round. Like, and we won a championship, and that's just like giving ourselves a chance to actually do it and look at the outcome. And so I think for us, the mindset just have to be to get there and not get there through the play-in. Make sure we have a good enough season to where we're in that top 6. And then once you're in the top 6, injuries happen, anything happen. Then from there, it's just a roll of the shake of the dice.
So you out of all people know what it takes to win the finals and be a champion. What team you watch so far in the playoffs you think got the opportunity and got the keys to win it?
Man, honestly, the team that I love right now is Dallas. And the reason I love Dallas is they have every piece that you need in order to win the championship. They got wing defenders. They got big men and a couple big men that they can rotate. Dwight Powell doesn't even play. Dwight Powell is a very serviceable big man in the NBA. Does not see the court. When you look at the depth that they have, you got Josh Green coming off the bench that can mix it up. Tim Hardaway coming off the bench that hasn't had necessarily the shooting year that we've grown accustomed to him having in his career. But at any moment he can get hot. A couple games ago, game 2, he got hot. He changed the game in the second half. And so I just think that they're a team that has the pieces around the guys to make it all work. When you look at Luka, when you look at Kyrie, and what they bring to the game, like, those are 2 of the most unguardable guys in our league. On any given night, they both can go for 40. Man, I just think they got the pieces to do it. Now, I do think it's going to fall on Luka's mindset. Like, when I see Luka at times this year, I say, damn, Luka ready to win a championship. He defending, he competing. But are you going to do that when it don't go well? When it's not going great, when the team is making a run, are you still going to compete that same way? And I think that's the next step for Luka, and I know he's more than capable of that because he's able to do that in spurts. So now how much longer can you put that together? And then also I think the leadership of Kyrie, man, like, nobody want to give that man his credit because all the things that he's been through, the leadership of Kyrie has been stellar, man. And when you watch the growth of a young guy like Kyrie who thought he was a leader, failed miserably as a leader, then come out and say, I failed, I know why, and you see him make the corrections, like, you can only respect that.
Speaking on Kyrie, because I feel like, so many people were doubting him, like, he's done, he's washed. Like, even I'm a Lakers fan, people are like, we don't need Kyrie. The Kyrie of old's gone, and he's obviously come back here. What do you attribute Kyrie, feeling like he's fitting in? He's probably going to be in Dallas for a minute now. Like, what do you attribute that to?
Number one, the growth of Kyrie.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to take credit for a guy when they do well. No one wants to take the blame for a guy when they're failing. And so, number one, the growth of Kyrie, the structure of his life. When you take a step back and you look at Kyrie's life, and by the way, we don't know his life. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like through a TV screen we know his life. But you get a good sense of what someone's life is just by watching them and how they operate this entire thing. And number one, the structure of his life. Always with his wife, always with his kids, focused on the task at hand, doing everything that he can do with this team. Like, at times I think and when you're a great player, it's going to happen. I think at times, sometimes Luka tend to over dribble or want to overdo it at times. Now, I've never been Luka Doncic. I've never had that responsibility as an NBA player. So I can imagine it has to be some of that, right? Like in order to be one of those guys, you got to press the issue a little bit. So I get it. But when you have a guy like Kyrie Irving, sometimes you don't have to press the issue. You could just get off of it. And a lot of times when you see stuff like that, guys drop their heads, guys slump their shoulders, walking back, they're bickering to each other. You never, ever, ever, no matter the situation, see that from Kyrie, ever. Whether it's toward Luka Doncic, whether it's toward Tim Hardaway, whether Derrick Jones Jr. don't make the extra swing to Kyrie, you never see Kyrie drop his shoulders or anything. They missed a shot, they could turn the ball over. He's like, yo, come on, let's go, let's get back. Like, his demeanor and attitude is what I think is really carrying this team. And, man, I'm so thankful to see his growth because I know how it is when everybody's trying to tear you down. Like, J. Wall, you know how that feel when everybody's trying to tear you down. When you're in a position of, you know, the position that we're in the NBA and in specific all-star. Like, these people build you up just to tear you down. And watch everybody try to tear that man down and the way he's shook back, the way he's continued to grow. Yeah, well, there's a lot of teams, Lakers included, a lot of teams saying, man, we don't need Kyrie no more. And you see what he's gone to Dallas and doing. Then also credit to Nico Harrison. I think it's very important that they gave Kyrie a safe space to beat Kyrie. Mm-hmm. They didn't ask Kyrie. You know, I had Mark Cuban on my show a couple months ago. They didn't ask Kyrie to come in there and be somebody different than who Kyrie is. And they took the time. Nico obviously been building that relationship for a long time through Nike, but they've taken the time to get to know the man. And when you take the time to get to know the man, you're seeing the product of that on the court, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you could tell. He said, I feel like I'm at home. Like, you feel like he at peace. He don't have to worry about trying to fake it to be somebody. He's not, and that's the biggest key. Is you just want to be yourself, and also he said he's learned. Mm-hmm. He's learned so much from being with Bron in the past and going to the finals and winning, then losing, then going to Boston and things don't go the way he wanted. And like you said, a lot of people say, he don't have it no more. Do you know who Kyrie Irving is? Do you know how special he is? Man, but like you said, his leadership and the way he's defending surprised me more than anything. Because all my battles I had with him in Cleveland and Boston, I'm like, I never seen him defend at this level. Like you said, he don't put his head down. He's clapping when a mistake happened. He's not worried about that. He's like, the next play, let's move on. So he's definitely learned over the years.
Absolutely. I think what he's doing on the defensive end is also setting the tone because you see him trying to check whoever it is that he need to check. He pressuring J-Dub at half court. J-Dub, 6'8", fast, big body, Kyrie pressuring this man at half court. That sets a tone for the team. Then guess what? You see him pressure, then J-Dub get to switch on Luka. Luka sit down and force a tough shot. Like, that stuff is contagious, man, and I respect the way Kai is competing. And no matter who he's on, he's competing. He's in front of that guy, he's sitting down. Every now and then, guy hit him with a shoulder or something because they're a little bigger. And then you see the next play, he's right there sitting down again, man. So, man, I give a lot of credit to Kyrie, man. Like I said, we all, you know, everybody want to throw stones when they get the opportunity to throw the stones, but the love don't be like that. And the love gonna be like that from this way because I respect and love to see what he's doing, man. It's incredible to watch.
Sure. So you definitely embrace this podcast platform. Like, what do you see next for yourself in this space? Because, you know, a lot of players, sometimes we wait till we done playing to do it. You said, fuck it, I'm doing it while I'm playing. And a lot of people don't have the courage and the nuts to do that. They might be a little scared.
Well, you know what? Number one, I think for me, when I first started, it was my first year was the year that we won the championship. And all year, people like, man, how you doing a podcast? Like, you playing in these games, then you more focused on your podcast. You shouldn't be doing that. Why they let them do the podcast? Stay off the microphone. Nobody want to hear you, blah, blah, blah. And then we go win the championship. And now all of a sudden it's cool. Everybody's doing a podcast, and it's no big deal. And so, honestly, I like to look at it like I broke a barrier. And not that I broke a barrier in being the first to do a podcast, like the first active athlete or anything like that, to do a podcast, because that's far from the fucking truth. And I don't want anybody to think that's what I'm trying to say. But the beating that I took on a daily basis to actively, like, come with 2-3 episodes in a week actually be locked in on building my own platform, building my own outlet, and having it be successful. Like the beating that I would take on a daily basis, for me was fun to watch. It also made it very fun to win a championship and throw it in everybody's face. Oh, and by the way, that same podcast that you said I can't do, while everybody's in there partying in TD Garden, because that's where our celebration was at till 6 o'clock in the morning, while everybody's in there partying until 3 a.m., I'm working on podcast shit. And then I go join the party. But that to me, why? Because it's a sacrifice. Like I'm trying to build something special. I'm trying to build something that when I'm done, as I move forward, that I built something that can sustain past me playing basketball. And so when I look at the podcast space, I love the growth of it. I love how athletes has taken their own media by storm. They're telling their own stories. They're creating their own narratives and not really creating a narrative from the standpoint of what we see in the media today, but controlling the narrative, I think, would be a better way of saying it, and controlling our own narratives, not giving other people the opportunity to control what it is that's said on my name. Like, no, you can go straight to the source and, man, I want to continue to grow this thing, and partnering with the volume the way that I have, continue to, my next goal is to bring other talent in that want to get into the space and give them opportunities to build their own platforms as well. And so just want to continue to do that, help on that side, continue to see the space grow. And ultimately, I think we're in the beginning phases of it, man. Like, I think, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and with athletes and their own podcasts and, how the podcast space is working. And I think that'll continue to grow when you look at all the platforms and the smart people that we have building these platforms and these outlets for us to take advantage of.
That's dope. Okay, Draymond, staying on your story, man, I think, someone I saw on the internet an interesting conversation. They were like, if an alien landed on the planet and they asked what Draymond Green's game was like, how would you describe it? And people said, you are the GOAT of intangibles. And so I wanted to know, because every kid I feel like who's trying to get better at basketball is out there working on their handles, working on the plays that are going to be, cut for highlights. So I wanted to know, how did you work on your game, and was there like a moment when you were younger and you realized, man, I got to work on every aspect to get to the next level?
You know what? I think it's just kind of the evolution of time, at the evolution of my game. Because, me and Travis, Travis has trained me every year since I've been in the NBA. So we've been at it for 12 years. And one of my closest friends, my OG at Michigan State, and we've been together, and we continue to grow from a business aspect. But we oftentimes sit and talk about basketball, and I always find it very interesting when people are like, especially young kids are like, yo, I'm Draymond Green. And, in their mind, that means like, I don't score, but I do the little things, and I'm going to make it that way. And don't get me wrong, I wholeheartedly believe that you can make it doing the little things. Like, you can. But, like, I used to score the fuck out the basketball. Like, my whole life, I scored the basketball. Like I didn't really play defense in college. I was really, like, great help side defender. But I remember making all Big Ten defense my senior year. And my assistant coach, Coach DJ, laughed in my face like, they put you on this team because of your name. And I'm like, nah, like, I checked. Like, well, I'm a great help side defender. And, like, my focus was just always to score. When I got to the NBA, and playmate, when I got to the NBA, that wasn't going to get me on the floor. Why? Because we had Steph Curry, we had Klay Thompson, we had David Lee, we had Carl Landry, we had Jared Jack, we had Richard Jefferson, we had Brandon Rush. Like, these are all guys that have on some level put the ball in the basket their entire careers. And now I'm going to come in this second-round pick behind Harrison Barnes, who's the number 7 pick. And I'm going to come in this second-round pick, and they about to give me the ball. That's not happening. And so I quickly realized, like, yo, my way on the court for this team is to defend, make the little plays, and bring toughness, right? So that's my way on the floor. Cool. That's how I got to get on the floor. Well, with that, however you come into the NBA, what you come into the NBA doing, you can never stop doing that thing. You can become a better shooter. You can become a better playmaker. You can become a better ball handler. You can get a better post game. You can do all of those things and add them to your game. But what you can never stop doing is the thing that got you on the floor. The reason that somebody put you on the floor in the NBA, you can never stop doing. Steph Curry can never stop shooting the basketball. Steph can't come in and be like, yo, I'm just defending. Like, fuck shooting a three. I'm just defending. Like, nobody want to see you just defend, bro. We want to see you shoot the basketball. That's what you do. Now, guess what? You can do, Steph Curry, and what you've done. You can get better defensively. You can become a better two-way player. You can add that to your game. But, by all means, brother, you must shoot this basketball. Like, that is what you do. That's who you are. You'll never be a good enough defender to supplement not shooting the basketball. Just like I'll never be a good enough shooter to not supplement defending. And so for me, then I knew that I always had to defend. All right, so start to build my career. My average is going up each and every year, right? Like I get to a point to where I'm averaging 15 a game, and that's trending upward. And then Kevin Durant comes, and every play that I had in the playbook is no longer my play. They now all go to Kevin Durant. And so for me, all right, let me identify this situation now because this is a different situation. This is a different team. What role do I need to play, right? Well, the role that I need to play is I need to go back to doing all of those little things. I need to make sure I'm getting these guys shots, both from passing the ball, screening, doing everything that I can to put these three guys in the best position that they want to be in, where they like to score the basketball. That's my role. Let me take that on. All right, so then as that becomes a thing, now you're no longer looked at as you can score the basketball, right? So now I'm strictly just looked at as he can play make and he can defend. No longer looked at as, oh, we can go to him to get a bucket. We can run this set and get him in some action so that he can get that's no longer the case for me. And so then that kind of becomes who you are. And so then that's what it became for me. And I've never cared to go to Steve like, oh, coach, I don't have a single play in the playbook. What can you do for me? Can you add these plays? I don't care. I'm going to go affect the game in any way that I can affect the game. And so that's it's always a funny thing to me when I watch younger guys or a parent yeah, my son is the next Draymond. It's like, your son don't score. Nah, brother, you should teach them how to score because in order for me to become who I become, at some point, I had to fucking score the basketball. Now, yes, I had to. I always could do the other things, and I had coaches, and I'm blessed in my life. Coach Dawkins, Coach Speedy, Coach Bruce, Coach Izzo. I've had coaches in my life along the way. My uncle, to teach me the fundamentals of the game and all the little things you need to do and the things what it takes to win. And so I was able to make that adjustment. But I used to score the basketball, and I think, as everybody always say, you don't have to score. I'm be honest, you got to be able to score the basketball. You just
at
have
some
to.
point.
You got to be able to score the basketball.
So I read a few articles where you emphasize and talk about understanding the business. What has the business of basketball taught you?
Man, you know what? Number one, you can't have feelings in business. When you're dealing with this business of basketball, man, it is, for a lot of us, we grow up just playing it because we love it. And then we see a means to get out, and it's like when you see the means to get out, you're like, oh, that's my way out of Saginaw, Michigan. That's my way out of Raleigh, North Carolina, the way I know Raleigh, North Carolina. What people know of Raleigh, North Carolina today isn't the Raleigh that John Wall grew up in, right?
Hell no.
That's my way out of here. So then you see it as a means to get out. And by the way, where we come from, it's the only means of getting out. Ain't no other way out. It's either that, go try to be a rapper, from what we've been taught. Now, Nobody taught us that the guy who plays in the NBA got a lawyer. Nobody taught us that the guy in the NBA has an accounting firm or a family office. Nobody taught us that. Nobody taught us until Rich Paul that the guy has an agent. And by the way, it can be somebody that look like you. Nobody taught us that. You know what they taught us? Hey, man, you got to go be the talent. You got to go play. You got to break your body down in order to make a better living for yourself. You know what we all say? Okay, I'm going to do it, right? And I'm very thankful to be in the position that I'm in. But when speaking of the business of basketball, the first thing that it taught me was no feelings are allowed here. Like there is, if you're going to have some sense of loyalty, have that sense of loyalty because that's how you feel, because that's what you want to have, not because you think someone is going to have a sense of loyalty to you. That's not the case, right? Like I am loyal to the Golden State Warriors organization because I want to be loyal to the Golden State organization because I love the organization myself personally, not because I think they owe me loyalty back. Now, in the loyalty that I've given them, they've always shown me that loyalty, and I have no reason to believe that they're not going to show me that loyalty. But by no means do they owe me that loyalty. And I think a lot of times we as athletes tend to feel like they owe me this. Because I've done X, I'm owed that. And it's a recipe for disaster. You're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for your ego to get crushed and for your feelings to get hurt. And so for me, I quickly had to learn the number one rule in this thing is there's no feelings involved. Continue to move forward. The number two thing that I learned, and it probably should have been number one if I knew better, was that you must know the business of basketball, that you must spend your time getting to know this thing, because so many of us spend time in this league, spend meaningful time in this league, and never get to know the business. And it's baffling to me because it's like, this is our business. Like, this is the business that we work in every single day, and we all depend on someone else to know the business for us. But this is the business that I'm in every single day, And then I think the last thing that the business of basketball taught me in layman's terms is it taught me big business. Like the game of basketball, the NBA is business at its highest form. When you look at, I always talk about in the NBA, man, everyone is operating at an elite level. Like, yeah, you see us on the basketball court and we're playing at an elite level. But what you don't see is Eric Hausen, who's our equipment manager, who manages our flights, hotels, travel, anything you need from him, all our gear, food, drinks, like you name it, anything we need. What you don't see is how elite Eric Hausen is. What you don't see is how elite Rick Celebrini is and heading up our medical staff, and how elite Danny Langford is and getting our body. Like everybody in the NBA is operating at an elite level. And so for me to see that, it's like, oh, this is big business, man. When you see these companies operating at an elite level, that ain't just because Elon Musk is operating at an elite level. That's because everybody beneath Elon Musk is operating at an elite level. And I think, just being in the business of basketball as long as I've been in it and being in it every day and actually trying to submerge myself in it so that I know and understand it and know the intricate details and the ins and outs, man, it's big business. And oftentimes we fall into like looking at it like, oh, it's just a game. Like you fall into that, it's just a game if you want to. This is big business. And these people are operating as such. And when you go in trying to operate like this ain't a big deal, setting yourself up for disaster, and you get your feelings and your ego hurt fast.
Draymond, it's incredible. I got fired up listening to that because it's incredible to hear the grasp you have on the business side of it, and how much, when your career is all said and done, how much do you want to maybe even go and be in the front office of an organization and apply what you've learned in the business aspect, what you've applied from, being an incredibly successful Warriors team? Like, do you imagine yourself maybe going back to Michigan and if the Pistons need that to go and, be in the front office and apply what you've learned?
You know what? I love the Detroit Pistons because they're from the state of Michigan. The love that Joe Dumars showed me in coming up, him and Jordan Dumars, and, the access that they gave me to see an NBA organization operate, to be around NBA players like Rip and Tayshaun and Big Ben and Sheed. Like, that access for me as a kid from Saginaw was like, oh, wow. I'm like these, like I could be like these dudes. They are like me, like, all right, like this is a life I can attain. Like, it's in reach for me. Like, that to me was special. And so I always have love for the Detroit Pistons, man, but my loyalty and love is the Golden State Warriors. I never sit back and look at it like, man, the Detroit Pistons is my home team. My home team is the Golden State Warriors. Like, that's the organization for me that in my life that has had the most impact on my life. That's the organization for me that has shown me the most love, you know. And I think, you know, so oftentimes we get caught up in like, yo, I need to go back home. Like, I'm at home. Like, I've like, that is home for me. I built a new home, and the state of Michigan will always be where I'm from and the core of me and like my home for sure. But like, I got two homes now, you know, and I don't look at it like, yo, I need to go back to the Pistons and give back to them. No, if I need to give back to any organization, if they'll have me and allow me to give to, I need to give to the Warriors organization, because that is the organization that is a part of my legacy. You know, the Detroit Pistons, as much as it is that I grew up in the state of Michigan, the Detroit Pistons isn't a part of my legacy at all outside of what Joe Dumars and those guys taught me. Other than that, what's a part of my legacy and what's home for me is the Golden State Warriors. So if I had the chance and opportunity to give to an organization, that's the organization that I would want to give to. Now, again, I do understand that this is big business, and they may not always have me. And guess what? They don't owe me a goddamn thing, and I don't feel like they owe me anything. But that's what I want to give to. Now, when I take a second step back and I look at whether it's front office, whether it's coaching, if I'm honest with you, I have zero interest in either one of them right now. And the reason that I don't have any interest in either one of them is because I've been on a basketball schedule my entire life, man. Like, and the reality is, as special as it is, you miss so much. Like, you miss, like, I miss my son taking his first step. Like, I saw that shit on the camera. Like, you know, and that's 7 years ago. I got 3 other kids on top of him, but like, I miss him taking his first step. Like, you just miss so much. And by the way, I just mentioned my son. You miss weddings. Like, everybody don't have their wedding in the summer, you know, when we're off. Like, you miss weddings, you miss birthdays, you miss Christmases, man. This Christmas was the first Christmas in 11 years that I've been at home. Now, I mean at home for the entire day. Guess what? I was only at home because I was suspended. But it's the first Christmas in 11 years that I didn't step foot into an NBA arena. Like, you miss so many things. And so I'm just not sure I'd want to be, I'd want to be on a basketball schedule. But I will say I'm honored, man, and with the conversations that I've had with Joe Lacob over the years, and him saying to me, like, yo, when you're done, I could see you one day coaching this team when Steve's done. Like, I could see you working with this team. Like, I would love to see that. That means the world to me, because that means the man that owned the organization that I play for is watching me play basketball and saying, this guy can one day coach my team. Like, man, these again, big business. These assets are not small, man. Like, if you're gonna trust somebody to coach your team, that's not small. That's not a small thing. That's a big fucking deal. And so to know that you have that type of support, and like, the owner of the organization that I play for is watching me and saying he can one day coach this. Or, man, Steve Kerr is my coach. Like, the guy who's been coaching this organization for the last 11 years, 10 years is Steve Kerr. He's a Hall of Fame coach. You're watching him and saying, I think that can one day be Draymond. That's insanity to me. And so I'm very thankful that people look at me in that light. But as I am in year 12 of my career, I say right now, and everything changes as time goes on, so I would never say never. But where I stand right now in year 12 of my career, headed into year 13, I'm not sure I want to be on a basketball schedule.
You've been in it a long time, and you always in the finals, always in the playoffs. Like you said, you don't get no break. People don't understand. You don't get no break. Like, luckily, I had torn my Achilles that year, so my son, I got to see his first steps. But if it weren't for injuries, I would have never seen those first steps. Like, you don't get those times back. You don't get that moment back. And being able to watch it from a camera, you're like, damn, I wish I was there for that. Or even the first day taking them to school, sometimes we don't be there. We might be at training camp or mini camp somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
it's
a fact.
Definitely tough.
And look at that, J. Wall. You said, man, luckily I got hurt. I tore my Achilles, and I was able to see my son walk. Listen to that.
Yeah.
Luckily, I tore my Achilles, one of the worst injuries that you can go through. Like, I don't know the pain. I knock on wood. I never want to know the pain.
Well, you don't.
But guess what? This man just said, luckily, I tore my Achilles and I was able to see my son take his first step. Do you know how fucked up that is? Like, and this is what we do. And by the way, again, I don't take it for granted. I'm very lucky and thankful to be in the position that I'm in. But it also sucks sometimes when people act like we don't deal with real shit. You know, like not being able to see my son take his first steps. That's real shit. Like that is a sacrifice that when people sit back and throw stones, they ain't willing to make that sacrifice. But you can sit back and throw a dart at me from across the room on how I may handle something or how I may deal with something or the mind state that I may be in on a specific day. But you don't know what I go through. Like, you don't really know the burden that I carry on my back every single day. And sometimes it just may get the best of me. Like, you don't know that. Guess what? And you know what else? I always tell people, you ain't willing to make that sacrifice. I always tell guys like, you know, every now and then you run into people and they're like, yo, I could play in the NBA. I'm like, yo, you couldn't deal with the stress of knowing that when you wake up at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, that you got a game at 7 p.m. Just the stress alone of that day, you couldn't deal with. Don't tell me you could play in the NBA. Like, you out of your mind. Like, and so for me, man, to hear you say that, like, I'm lucky.
They might not even want to go to shoot around at 10 o'clock.
Facts.
Like, they might not want to go to shoot around at 10 o'clock. That's before the game. You got to go to shoot around.
Guess what?
I don't want to do that.
You there from 9 to 12:30. Like, by the way, be back here at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Like, the sacrifices, man. And when you just said that, that took me back. I was lucky to tear my Achilles so I could see my son first step. That's what we go through as athletes. And listen, it's great. The money we make is great. Playing basketball for a living is great, but just like everything else, it has its negatives as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Draymond, I have one more question here. You know, on record, everyone knows that you and LeBron are pretty close friends. You know, you guys are getting in the twilight of your career, a few more years left, and I wanted to know the possibility ever of you guys teaming up.
Honestly, I don't know if, I love Bron. I love Bron to death. That's my brother. And, you know, the relationship that we have and what it's grown to, I cherish. You know, my kids see him, Uncle Bron this, Uncle Bron, like, I never take any of my brothers in my life for granted. Like, I'm always thankful. I am a relationships guy. Like, I love building relationships. I love, like, that component of life, and I cherish people. And, you know, I don't take people for granted. You know, people aren't an item to me. You know, like, I love people. And I'm so thankful for the relationship that we have. I think it's a very special thing. I think, you know, when I take a step back and look at my life, it's not something that I would have been like, especially in those early years of the finals, like, yo, that's going to be my brother and we're going to be like this. Like, I would have never thought that. In saying that, as I've said before, unless Bron coming to Golden State, I don't really see that happening. You know, for me personally, if the Warriors will have me until I'm done and I tie my shoestrings in the knot and toss them things above the telephone wire, that's where I'll be. You know, it's nothing else. And looking around the NBA that excites me more than doing all that I can to try to win another championship with the team that I've won 4 championships with the guys that I've won 4 championships with, you know, Steph and Clay. Like, I never look around the league and be like, I think I'll be great. Like, fuck that, man. I can be great right here. I can do what I need to do for us to win another championship, and that's my focus. And so as much as I would love the opportunity to play with Bron one day, like, I thought I would have that opportunity this summer with Team USA. That didn't happen for me. And so I think that probably puts a wrap, you know, a bow on the possibilities of that, because as long as this franchise will have me, it's where I'll be.
Amazing. John, you got anything else? Man, Draymond, appreciate you coming on Point Game, man. I know you're busy. Enjoy the off season, and thanks again.
No doubt. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate y'all. Jay Wall, I've been enjoying watching you transition to this next chapter of your life, checking out your podcast, man, and just watching you get better and better. You know, when I first started this podcast journey, man, I would come on and like, yo, I know basketball and I know how to talk to people. And my producer would make this rundown of the show. And like, I'd be logging on to the Zoom, like reading the rundown. Then I'm like, all right. And finally I had to learn, like, yo, you got to prepare. Like, you can't just come into this shit thinking I'm about to read. And when I watch y'all show, like, I see the preparation from you. I see the dedication, you know, from you and taking this serious. And man, I just wanted to say I love it. Like, I appreciate your journey, bro. I appreciate, you know, who you were in this league. You know, I know so oftentimes people try to, like, dim what it is that you were in this league. Like, number one, it's not what you were, it's who you are. And don't ever forget that, my dog. Like, you was great in this league. You was a standard for a lot of guys. That ain't changed. And although people try to cash you out, try to throw you out when they feel like they don't lose you no more, I just want you to know, as one of your peers, the utmost respect for what you've brought to this game. And I love to watch what you're doing in the podcast space. It's beautiful to see, bro.
Appreciate that, Dre. And yeah, whatever I need any advice on this, I'm definitely gonna hit you up. But definitely appreciate that, bro.
No doubt, bro. It's love, my dog.
Sure.
Welcome back to Point Game with John Wall and C.J. Toledano, presented by DraftKings. It's that time. We do it every show. It's Bucket or Brick time. Reminder, Bucket or Brick is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is your home for all things NBA action, from player props to same-game parlays. Check out everything DraftKings Sportsbook has to offer to make your NBA experience even sweeter. The crown is yours. All right, John, we alluded to it in the beginning, but we wanted to get it here in the Bucket or Brick segment. So first one here, we'll start off with the T-Wolves are favorite over the Mavs to win the Western Conference Finals at minus 170, meaning if you bet $170, you can win $100. So Bucket or Brick, the Timberwolves will win the West. It's tough. You said in the beginning you weren't sure yet. So
that one I gotta go. I don't know. I'm not gonna do nothing because it's because it's interesting. Because I feel like for me, Kyrie and Luka are the best backcourt of a point guard and real shooting guard in NBA history. To me, they haven't won anything, but just like they can both go get 50. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But also, I love the attitude and the aggression that Antman comes with. So I don't want to go against Antman either, you see what I'm saying? Because Antman is on another level right now, and I love everything about it.
If you go supporting cast versus supporting cast, so we talk about role players a lot on this show. So what role players would you want? The Mavs or the Timberwolves? Let's try it that way.
Like,
I think Mavs have better shooters, bigger shot makers, but the Timberwolves, you got incredible defensive bigs.
Not aggressive. No, not really.
No? All right.
No, not really. But you have the six man in Nas Reed. But I love P.J. Washington, the way he's defending, the way he's making shots. I love the way Derrick Jones is stepping up making shots. So I feel like Derrick Jones and Jaden McDaniels, they like cancel each other out. You know what I mean? I feel like Jaden McDaniels is more talented than what Derrick Jones is, but Derrick Jones is doing the same thing that Jaden McDaniels is doing. You see what I'm saying? Then I think Nas Reed gives them the edge on the other end, but P.J. Washington has been great for them. You know what I mean? You have Josh Green that comes in and do his thing. Dante Exum was there. Then they started playing Jaden Hardy. Derek Lively's been special for them. So I think it's going to be interesting. I see that series going 6 or 7 for sure.
Okay. All right. Celtics, Pacers, Eastern Conference Finals. So Bucket or Brick, the Pacers will force a Game 7 in Boston. Not Pacers winning, but they'll force a Game 7. Bucket or Brick?
Brick.
Okay.
Brick. I see it going 5 or 6. Because I just feel like the Pacers are fighting hard. I love Coach Rick Carlisle. Siakam's been special. Hallenberg has showed up in moments and spurts. I just think the Celtics, they know what they're going for. I mean, everything's on the line. They've been there before. I think Tatum been in the league 7 years. He's been to 5 or 6 Eastern Conference Finals. I think they know what they need to do to get there. I think they got their mindset on one goal, and that's to get to the finals and let's get over the hump. So I see them taking care of business.
Yeah, I think they're the clear favorite right now to win it all after the Nuggets.
Yeah, they have to be. Yeah, they have to be.
Okay. All right, moving on here. Back to the Nuggets. So bucket or brick, the Nuggets will win another title with Jokic.
Bucket. I feel like they realized this year what they lost from their bench last year hurt them in this series. You know what I mean? Because the Timberwolves was wearing them down. They had a better bench, so I think they realized what they was missing. I think their main objective is to sign guys back and then go sign some pieces to help their bench a little bit. But the young guys are still developing. I just don't think they was ready for that type of moment.
What type of players do you think they got to go out and get this offseason?
Like a Bruce Brown, like a Jeff Green, like those guys that was veterans, knew how to play. It's okay to have the young guys, you know what I mean? It's okay to have the young guys and still develop them, but I feel like they was missing some of those veteran guys off the bench to help them because they only play like 3 guys off the bench. You know, usually the Nuggets can play 3, 4, 5 guys. So I think they need a little bit more help with their bench.
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on. A little bit of Lakers talk here. So bucket or brick, J.J. Redick will be the next coach of the Lakers.
Bucky, I think he is.
I
just think he is.
The way the media is talking, it's like JJ is primed to take that spot. So
yeah,
they do it. How do you think that go? How does it work? You know, because I think people are a little bit, I think, weary of it because he's a first-time head coach. You know, they had Darvin Ham for 2 years, and they thought he was more of a player coach. So, and the Lakers, biggest organization to be the head coach of. How do you think that works?
I have no idea. I never seen JJ coach. You know what I mean? Like, I just see him on the podcast and then see him broadcasting. So I really don't know how that would work. But all the best of luck if he do get the job. You know what I mean? Like, whatever job he do get, if it's the Lakers or wherever, being a head coach is not easy. You know what I mean? Because there's so much that comes with it nowadays. And now it's more of a players' league than a coaches' league. You know what I mean? So long as your players respect you and buy into what you got going on, you can go a long way. I mean, I know they're going to probably try to trade for somebody if we get the job and add some more pieces to help them out. But I have no idea.
Because I from talking to guys like you who played in the league and have had, coaches, I think you and Martian were talking about, Randy Whitman. And it's almost having a coach who can connect with the players but also can call out their bullshit, Is that kind of the...
Well, that's the key.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn if it's high school or college level. Like, if the best player can't be coached by the coach, your team's not going far. I mean, like, you got to be able to hold your best player accountable the same way you hold the 15th guy on the team accountable. Yeah. And then once everybody see that, then it brings your team together more because, okay, shit, if he's getting on our best player, I got to do my job as the role player.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if I'm not getting on the best player, the role player, we're like, well, shit, he feel the way too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to listen to him. Or I don't have to buy in. So when the best players buying in and doing it on both ends of the floor, everybody's followed their lead.
And that's as important as knowing the X's and O's.
That's the most important role. The X's and O's come down the pack, but if I can't coach my best player and hold him accountable, like I can the 15 player on my roster that might not play, then my team's not going far.
Yeah.
And then after that, building team chemistry, building camaraderie, guys liking each other and just wanting to play for each other. Like, you look at the T-Wolves, man, like, last year, they didn't know if Cat wanted to be the man or Ant wanted to be the man. You could tell this year they know who the man is. They all accepted it, and they're rolling. You know what I mean? Like, they know Ant's the guy. Cat is cool with being the second guy. And you see how well they're playing, like how their camaraderie is, how their team is. Like, they enjoy each other. They're a young team but with a couple of vets, but they enjoy playing for each other. And that goes a long way.
All right. Finally, bucket or brick. Jokic is actually happy the playoffs are over so he can go home to his horses. You think that's real? You think there's all these memes out there who are like, Jokic is fine. He just wants to go and hang out with his horses.
I say brick because Jokic might not care about like the MVPs and all that, but shit, he's still a basketball player. Like, he still want to win championships. I know that for sure. I mean, he don't care. For me, I feel like he don't care about the accolades. He really don't care about the media attention. He don't want that. He just want to play basketball. If he win, he's win. And after that, I'm going back home. Like, he loves to be in his hometown. He loves to be around his horses. He loves to be around his family. And you can't be mad at it. You know what I mean? Because he kills in the NBA. My job is done here. I'm going to enjoy my life. And he's just doing it back home in his country. So you can't be mad at it all. But I say Brick because I know him. I don't know him, but I know he'll still want to, if he had a chance to fight and try to go win a championship, he would love that. He just don't care about the media attention. I can tell you that. I bet.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his post game press conference last night where he was breaking it down. It's like he said the specifics. Timberwolves were built to beat the Nuggets, and they came up short. And so if he didn't care and he wanted to just go back to his horses, he would have been like, "Peace, I'm out." But
yeah, but I feel like the T-Wolves have the perfect team that could beat the Nuggets. Like, they had the perfect team. You know what I mean? I told him before. I said, look at last year when Nas Reed and Jaden McDaniels was hurt. They still had a great series. So you add in a 6-man and then your best defensive player outside of Antman, that changes the aspect of the game for them. They got him back. They won 7. They end up winning.
I think it's going to be – we're going to see that matchup again in these next few years. I think –
Oh, for sure.
Nuggets are going to go get the pieces to go and beat the Timberwolves, vice versa. Like, this is the beginning of a new era.
Well, I feel like it's going to be a chess match, like chess, because the Timberwolves, even though they beat them, they're going to try to do some shit this summer to make their team even more better.
Right.
I mean, it all depends. If the Nuggets go do something, they're going to have to do something. That's how they're going to feel.
Yeah. All right, well, we're just getting started with these conference finals, so people listening right now, keep listening. John, do you have anything else for the fans before we get off this episode?
For sure. Keep listening, man. It's going to be exciting. Now we had the conference finals. We know what the matchups are. And you're going to get a lot of this talk on our podcast. It's going to be exciting. So I'm ready to see when the game get rolling. So,
yep.
Showtime.
More guests on the way. This has been Point Game presented by DraftKings. Everyone, please rate, review, and subscribe to the pod. Leave us a 5-star review and drop some questions for John and I. We'll answer them in a future episode. Point Game. Peace.